I'd like to say thanks for coming along today to our session on postgraduate business at Sturt University, and have a look at what sort of programs we have and how students can develop the business and leadership skills that matter to you. My name is, just moving to the next slide. My name's Cath Hatchery. I'm a course director in the School of Management and Marketing at Sturt University, and I look after the MBA program, the Master in Human Resource Management, and a few other associated courses. And so I've worked both within Australia and internationally, and I've led teams of people, and so all of that background experience has been useful for me in my academic career in order to develop courses that are relevant for people in the workplace. Sturt University, our focus and our strength is that we deliver courses, particularly at postgraduate level in business. All of our courses are online, and what we fit is that target market that needs to fit study around their life and their own needs. So we have the opportunity for people to take one subject or two subjects or more subjects, and so they can either finish within 2 years for a master's, or they can take longer and complete it over 4 years or more. So there's a lot of flexibility in the way we deliver online education, and that is really an acknowledgement of the fact that most of our people studying postgraduate courses with us do have very hectic lives. They've full-time work commitments, often family and other factors impacting on their lives. So with the online study, you basically can study wherever you are, and if you travel for work, that's very useful. One of our MBA students was saying that the excellent thing about our program at Sturt University was that he could, when he was offered a job in New Zealand, he was able to take up the job and maintain his study, so he didn't have to give up his MBA because he was moving countries. So you can take your study wherever you go. If you travel for work, you can take your study with you on the plane and into other countries. So as long as you've got an internet connection, you're able to participate in our educational environment, and we have more than 70 courses available for study online. The thing about an MBA is that it is something that's seen as a flagship course in the industry. And so I think the attractive thing about studying the MBA with us is that you don't have to give up anything. You don't have to go and take a year off and go and commit to a one-year program. You can actually fit in the MBA program with what's happening in your particular circumstances. As I mentioned earlier, you could finish it actually in 1 year if you really wanted to do it full-time. Most people, if they're studying part-time, they take between 2 to 3 years, but some people even take up to 5 years to finish. The other thing about our MBA is that we do have one of the widest range of specializations in the country, and so that provides a lot of flexibility and a lot of attractive specializations to people interested in taking on an MBA. And if you've studied elsewhere at postgraduate level, we're very keen to be able to give you credit where we can. So we're quite flexible in incorporating credit for up to 50% of the course. The other thing I would like to say about our MBA is it's really a lot of practical workplace-based assessments. So when we give you a task to do as an assessment within the MBA, we ask you to relate it to your workplace, to analyse your workplace situation and come up with recommendations. And that really makes it an authentic experience and situates it very professionally and makes it very relevant to your career. So if we're going to move on to the specialisations that we offer, as I mentioned earlier, we have one of the broadest range of specialisations in the country. So within the MBA, you can specialise in accounting and finance. Or this next specialisation is very popular amongst our domestic students: business analysis, operations and strategy. Also, we have a number of school principals in our MBA program because, you know, as a principal, you're leading a large organisation, you're making decisions around human resource management, about management, leadership, accounting, marketing, a whole range of finances. So we found that our school principals have been really engaging with our MBA program and found it extremely useful for the operations of their schools. We also have a new specialisation in entrepreneurship and leadership for those interested in either starting up an organisation on their own or really facilitating entrepreneurship within their own organisations. There's a specialisation in human resource management or information technology. We also have a lot of police come into our MBA program, and so again, once people move up to an inspector level, they're making very strategic decisions, they're leading a workforce, they're running, they're operating with budgets, they're dealing with governments, they're really operating at a very high macro level, and the feedback we've had from various police officers who've been, senior police officers who've been in the program is really the MBA has been given them a great language and lens to interact with government and public and private sector and really get, you know, think about their strategic priorities and work more effectively. We have a specialisation in leadership, marketing, project management, which is our most recent specialisation, public sector management, because we have a lot of quite senior bureaucrats in our program, and then also social impact, because as we can see from the recent COVID pandemic, often there's a huge social impact from a lot of activities that are happening, whether that's climate change or health issues or economic downturns. So the social impact specialisation really looks at those side of things. In terms of career opportunities and outcomes, I think the whole thing about an MBA is it allows you to grow and develop as you progress through the program. So you'll find it's not like you magically change when you graduate. What you'll find is that you'll gain confidence and skills as you go through the course, and that, you know, generally what happens with our students, who 98% of who are employed when they enrol in the program, is that what they find is that they just move through into more senior management roles. And these are a couple of quotes that I've had from students just in the last month, where I've been able to get this feedback from them. So one of them, who did the educational leadership specialisation, she wrote that she's going to take on a senior leadership role in her organisation, and she felt it was a direct outcome of the education she gained through the MBA. And I'd like to point out that this person actually has a PhD. So she's done her PhD and come back and done the MBA and found the MBA extremely beneficial, because the PhD, it made her a specialist in her field, but the MBA made her more of a generalist and allowed her to see things from a broader perspective. So she, you know, brought that more strategic and broad lens to her practice. And this one from another student who wrote that she'd enjoyed the course and she'd seen immediate and practical benefits to her professional development, and was quite grateful for the opportunity to learn that she gained through the course. And I actually initially wrote to her because she received a Dean's Award, and so I was congratulating her on achieving a distinction average, and she wrote back saying how beneficial the program had been. So in terms of entry requirements, in order to gain admission into the MBA, it's generally expected that you'd have an undergraduate degree from a recognised Australian tertiary institution or the overseas equivalent. And then I would say that workplace experience is fairly much standard. We'd expect you to have some level of workplace experience, usually around 5 years or more, and starting to move into a more senior role. If you're not in that position, then we'd probably expect you to do a longer program, which is our MBA 16 subjects. If you don't have a bachelor degree, then what we'd expect you to have is some sort of post-secondary qualification, so a certificate for or a diploma or a combination of both of those that have been gained over a period of years, plus significant workplace experience. And what we'd then do is ask you to enter into the MBA via a graduate certificate course, which basically is the first 1/3 of the MBA program. So to move on to see what the actual MBA program looks like, what you can get is 3 qualifications in 12 subjects. So the first part of the course is subjects in marketing, contemporary management, accounting and strategy. And that is the graduate certificate program that we ask people to come through if they don't have a bachelor degree. And once they've completed those 4 subjects, any student, whether you've come in via the grad cert or come in via the masters, you can actually obtain that graduate certificate. And then you can move across and do the next part of the program where you actually choose electives from these areas. And what we do with our MBA, some MBAs, they require you to do finance and economics as mandatory subjects. But what we say is, well, why would you want to do that if you're already working as a finance specialist in a bank or in a financial organisation, or if you already have very strong economics background? What the MBA should do is to help you bridge the gaps, not repeat your knowledge. So what we do is we give you that flexibility. So if you do have a very strong finance background, rather than doing finance again, you can get to maybe do some leadership type subjects, or you can take on something like change management or governance and ethics or managing sustainability. So it's really about plugging those gaps that you don't have rather than repeating knowledge that you already do. So you choose 4 from that area of economics, finance, human resource management. Operations management was really about, I guess, service and operations, often more utilised in a manufacturing environment, but also applied to service operations, or business leadership, or change management, or ethics and governance, or project management, or sustainability. So you choose 4 from there, and then you go on and you do your specialist area, which is 4 subjects. You can choose not to specialise, and in which case you just get to choose 4 subjects. So it's 4 to get the graduate certificate, then another 4 to get the graduate diploma, and lastly, the final 4, which is either a specialisation or an additional 4 subjects to get the MBA. So within that 12 subjects, you can get 3 qualifications. All right, I might just see if there's any questions now. Has anything popped up?
Not through the chat boxes yet, but if you guys do have any questions, I'm looking at it right now, so feel free to type them in, or if you're happy to sort of chat them to us, go for it.
All right, I might move on then, and we can come back to questions towards the end. Okay, so if an MBA is not for you or not quite what you're looking for, Charles Sturt University does offer quite a wide range of business courses, and I'm sure that we've got something to suit everybody's particular situation. We have a general graduate certificate, which is 4 subjects, and you can take a graduate certificate in one of the following areas. So commerce, which is just, you can choose to any 4 subjects you like in the graduate certificate in commerce, or we have a graduate certificate in dispute resolution, and this is really useful for a number of fields. So in human resource management, the area where we get a lot of people studying dispute resolution, if you think about in the workforce, a lot of disputes happen in the workforce. So to be able to navigate those and come up with constructive and productive outcomes is really useful. So that course is really about conflict resolution, dispute resolution, negotiation, mediation, and all of those activities which are meant to result in win-win outcomes and avoid things like expensive litigation or protracted legal cases. Then we have a graduate certificate in industrial relations, and this we actually just took through review just this year. So we've, and one of the big things that has been a big issue for large and small organisations throughout the COVID-19 pandemic has been the whole dealing with the industrial relations situation. And this is such an exciting area now because the government has now organised what's being called Accord 2.0, the opportunity to work with the unions and businesses to really revise Australia's industrial relations to develop a really productive and perhaps future-centred industrial relations framework so that it can be useful for situations like this and give employers more flexibility, but also try and protect the rights of workers. So that course we feel is very important for this age. And then the other thing about working in this volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous world is that we still, regardless of whatever, we work with people. So a grad cert in human resource management helps you work with people and covers things like identifying talent, ensuring you've got the right mix of people, developing people through the organisation and working with organisations, planning for the future and all those sort of things. Then we've got marketing and applied digital marketing. Our organisational change course, that is another one that we've taken through review in this first 4 months of this year. And we've really looked at this in the lens of a complex, ambiguous, volatile and uncertain world and thought about what it is people need to know in terms of navigating change within organisations. And we've got a exciting newly revised course to deliver here. So there's a grad cert there, which is only 4 subjects. Then we've got organisational coaching and leadership and also social and organisational leadership. And of course, at the master's level, we've kind of got a parallel there in most of the areas. So at the master's level, if you do want that big picture course, the 12 subjects, then there's a Master of Commerce, which enables you to tailor your course to however you like. And that course is really flexible. It allows you to have up to 3 specializations, so you could choose from a wide range of areas and really just decide on what you want to do at postgraduate level in business and build your own degree. And then we've got the Masters in Dispute Resolution, the Masters in Human Resource Management, Masters in Marketing and Applied, and another one in Applied Digital Marketing, or a Masters in Social and Organisational Leadership. And then our most recent course is this Graduate Certificate in Community Leadership and Resilience. And this has been in a direct response to things like the drought and the bushfire in regional Australia. And it's been developed to help small and public sector organisations navigate through these changing, difficult times. Okay, so I'll just move quickly to give you a bit of a snapshot of a couple of our courses. So this is the Graduate Certificate in Organisational Change, which I mentioned earlier that we'd taken through review this year. And so what we're going to be offering with this one is a core of 2 subjects, facilitating change and implementing change. So the first one really introduces you to the idea of change and introduces you to the range of theories and perspectives and helps you understand why people resist change and how to engage with stakeholders and all of those aspects. And then the second subject, the implementing change subject, is really about how to go about doing it. So it gives you a bit of a structure and a process to move forward within your organisations and deliver those change. And then we thought, well, you know, people all, again, come from different backgrounds and maybe looking at different things. So in the change process, if it's the human behaviour aspects that are most challenging for you, you can complement these 2 core subjects with some studies in human behaviour, so things like values and conflict in organisation, or organisational politics, or organisational behaviour, or skills of conflict resolution or negotiation. But it might be the process-based issues that are most important in your change situation. So things like evaluating human resources, training, design and development, or strategic management, or project management, or human resource management, that could be the things that you need. Lastly, you might be looking to bring in a really innovative and adaptive focus to your organisation. So you could choose to take 1 or 2 subjects from those areas. And the thing about the grad cert, it's a 2 core, and then your other 2 can either be taken from 1 specialist area or 1 from, you know, human behaviour group and 1 from the innovative and adaptive. So you're not required to take 2 from 1 group. You can take 1 and 1 as well. And we think that's a great opportunity for people, and we feel that that is really going to be a very attractive program in our current work environment. The other one, the Grad Cert Industrial Relations I mentioned. So this again has two core, which is industrial relations in context and industrial relations in practice. So similar to the change, it's about what is industrial relations, why is it important, how does it work, and then how you can apply it to your organisation. So that's the core. And then because issues like legal frameworks and law are quite important, you'll need to do one of these. And lastly, you can finish off with an elective that could be relevant for your particular area. So whether that's conflict, whether that's politics, whether that's conflict resolution, whether that's contemporary issues, or you can do two legal framework subjects. And then the last snapshot course I thought I'd focus in on was this one, which is our Master's of Social and Organisational Leadership. And this course is for those people who really want to develop and improve and really deeply engage with the practice of leadership. And so this is a program that looks very strongly into what is contemporary leadership. So it covers off in the beginning with just perhaps the whole sort of range of theories in the area of leadership, but then moves into identifying what are the challenges in your workforce, what are the contemporary issues, how do you deal with things like toxic leadership, how do you effectively lead teams, how do you lead diverse teams, and then other things like the importance of power and how that impacts on leadership. And lastly, obviously, leadership for our very VUCA type world where we've got a huge social impact of things like COVID, climate change, pandemics, global financial crises, and a range of issues. So that's another one of our quite attractive courses, I think, for our modern age. All right, and for all of those courses, you'll need to have a bachelor's degree or some post-secondary qualifications with significant experience.